So, have we reached the end of physics? It's a huge question, and it's actually been asked before. But today it has this radical, completely new meaning. To really get why, we've got to look at a crisis that's brewing right at the very heart of science itself. And this right here, this question from physicist David Lindley, it just gets right to the core of it. It sums up this massive problem in fundamental physics, a crisis of faith, of evidence, and really, of what science even is. So, what is this crisis exactly? Well, it's this fundamental split between the beautiful, elegant theories that physicists are coming up with and our ability to actually test them out here in the real world.
I mean, this is how far out our ideas have gotten. Theorists are now working in these realms that are governed pretty much entirely by pure mathematics. They're proposing concepts like tiny, tiny strings vibrating in, get this, 26 dimensions. These ideas are so far beyond our current tech that even trying to test them is, well, it's basically impossible right now.
So, this is the really crucial point. If a theory is beautiful, if it's mathematically perfect, but it doesn't make any predictions we can actually go out and test, is it still science, or has it crossed a line into something else, something more like philosophy, or even art? To figure this out, we need to take a look at how science has always worked. So to really get a handle on this modern problem, let's just step back in time for a minute and look at a classic example from astronomy that shows how science is supposed to work. For centuries, scientific progress has kind of been like this zigzag dance. It moves forward on two legs, two essential supports. You've got an appealing, beautiful theory on one side, and cold, hard experimental facts on the other. One leg steps forward, then the other one has to catch up. And this is just a perfect illustration of that tension. For over 1,000 years, the Ptolemaic system, the Earth-centered one, it dominated. Why? Because it was messy and complicated, but it was incredibly accurate at predicting where the planets would be. Then along comes Copernicus with this much simpler, more beautiful sun-centered model. But here's the kicker. At first, it was actually less accurate than the old clunky system. So for a while there, science was torn, It was stuck between this messy accuracy and a beautiful theory that just didn't quite fit the data. The whole thing was only resolved when Johannes Kepler came along and introduced elliptical orbits. And suddenly, boom, the elegant Copernican theory perfectly matched the facts. Beauty and data, the two legs of science, were finally back in step. That's the ideal. But what happens when one of those legs, that all-important experimental leg, gets stuck? What's the danger when beauty becomes the only thing you have to guide you? And this is where Albert Einstein enters the picture. When somebody asked him what he would have done if experiments had contradicted his theory of relativity, this was his answer. For Einstein, the inner beauty, the logical perfection of a theory, that was everything. So much so that he believed it was a glimpse into the mind of God. But this Einsteinian style, it has a potential dark side. See, Einstein was guided by this profound, almost spooky physical intuition. But the worry is that many physicists who try to follow in his footsteps, well, they don't have that same inner compass. They risk using aesthetic appeal as an excuse for what's basically just mathematical games, creating these elegant theories that might be completely empty. And the problem today is that this reliance on beauty, it's not just a philosophical choice anymore. It's actually being forced on physicists by the practical, physical limits of our world. To put it simply, our theories have just completely outrun our experiments. The kind of energies you'd need to test ideas like string theory they're way beyond what even our most powerful machines, like the Large Hadron Collider, can produce. The experimental leg of science is starting to falter. I mean, just look at what it would take to build the next generation of experiments. We're talking about machines that are tens of miles long, with price tags in the tens of billions of dollars. We are literally running out of the physical space and the money to keep that experimental leg of science moving forward. So, all of this brings us right back to our original question, but now we've got a whole new way of looking at what the end of physics might actually mean. 100 years ago, the end of physics meant a complete mechanical model of the universe, like a giant clockwork of forces and objects you could actually picture. Today, that vision is gone. The new goal is a complete mathematical structure, where truth is found in elegant, logical forms, even if the reality they're describing is totally bizarre and forever beyond our ability to see or touch. And so we're left with this. As that leg of experiment struggles to take even one more step, science is forced to balance on just one leg, the leg of theory, guided by aesthetics. But if beauty becomes the final judge of truth, who are the judges? Who gets to decide what's beautiful? And is what they're doing still physics?